In this video, I want to show you a few things that you could do to increase your chances of winning when playing against somebody in tic-tac-toe. So let's begin. Let's draw two horizontal lines and two vertical lines. Now, if you have the option of going first, where do you think you should go? Should you go in the middle, or should you go in one of the four sides, or perhaps maybe one of the four corners? What is the best play to make in the beginning? The best thing to do is to choose one of the four corners. So let's begin by going in the upper left corner. Now, your opponent has three options. He can go in the middle, he can go at one of the four sides, or he can go in the other three remaining corners. The best place for your opponent to go is in the middle. But let's say he doesn't go there for some reason. Let's say if he goes in one of the four sides. What should you do? What move should you make that will allow you to control the game? Now, you don't want to go in the middle. It's not the best play at this point. Instead, what you want to do is you want to choose one of the other three remaining corners. Now, which one should you do? Where should you go? Let's say if we played here, your opponent can go anywhere. He can go over here, and that forces you to move in this direction. So you don't want to go in the upper right corner. You don't want to go here because your opponent is forced to go here to prevent you from winning, and you have to go on the bottom side, and then your opponent has to go here, and it's going to be a cat's game. The best place for you to go is in the lower left corner because it forces your opponent to go at the left side. And this allows you to make the next play, and that is putting the X on the lower right corner. And so now you could win in two directions. So if your opponent goes in the middle, you could win in this direction. Or if your opponent goes at the bottom, you could win in that direction. Now let's rewind the clock. So let's say if your opponent doesn't go on one of the four sides. Let's say he decides to occupy one of the four corners. What move should you make? Now your next best play is to get one of the two remaining corners. It really doesn't matter which one you select. If we select the corner on the lower right side, your opponent has to go in the middle in order to keep the game going. And then you have to go here. So at this point, you could win in two directions. Your opponent has nowhere to go. Or it really doesn't matter where he goes, you're going to win. If he goes here, you'll win in this direction. Now the other option is to go in this corner, which forces your opponent to go here. And then your next best move is to take the lower right corner, allowing you to win in these two directions. Now, what if your opponent makes the best move that he can possibly make if he goes second? What if he goes in the middle? What should be your next move? Now, I don't recommend going on a side that's adjacent to your first move. Let's say if you go on the upper side, your opponent is forced to go on the upper right corner, and you're forced to go at the lower left corner, and he's going to go on the left side, and you're forced to go on the right side. And as you can see, it's going to be a cat's game with no one winning. And the same will happen if you choose to go on the left side, if your opponent doesn't make a mistake. If he goes here, then that's just a bad mistake and you could just win there. But chances are he's not going to make that mistake. What I like to do is go in one of these three positions. So let's say if we go on the lower right corner. If your opponent goes on the lower left corner, your next best move is to go in the upper right corner, and you could win in these two directions. Now, if your opponent goes on one of the four sides, let's say at the left side, then it could be a cat's game. You're forced to go on the right side, he's forced to go here, you're forced to go here, and then he's going to go here, and it's going to be a cat's game. So it doesn't matter which of the four sides he chooses. So if he goes here, you're forced to go here, he's going to go there, and you're going to go in the upper right corner, and another cat's game. So if your opponent goes in the middle, there's no guarantee that you'll win. However, if he makes a mistake, if he goes either on the lower left corner or the upper right corner, then you could win. So it really depends on what your opponent does next. Now, let's say if you decide to go on the right side or on the lower side. If your opponent, let's say, goes in this direction, then your next best move is to go here. And so you could win in these two directions. If he decides to go, let's say, here, you still want to go in this direction. The idea is that you want to place your mark in such a way that you could win in two directions. Now, if he doesn't go in these two positions, if he goes anywhere else, it could be a cat's game. If he goes here, you're forced to go here. And as you can see, no one's going to win this. If he goes, let's say, actually, if he goes here, you may have a chance to win. If he doesn't, if he goes here, it's going to be a cat's game. Thus, whenever your opponent goes in the middle during his move, that is, if you had the first move to begin with, the game becomes a lot more harder, more difficult. So you need to be careful. And that's basically it for this video. So hopefully the information that was presented here was beneficial to you, and I hope you win your next tic-tac-toe match. Thanks for watching.